Last time we talked about the Good Shepherd, Jesus, and how he referred to his relationship with the Father, and how our own fathers sometimes have tainted our view of the good Father in many cases. And today we're looking further into the voice of the Father, the one that sent Jesus to be our Good Shepherd, so that we can turn our ears to hear him loud and clear. We're still in John 10. It says, "The reason my Father loves me is that I lay down my life only to take it up again. No one takes it from me. I lay it down of my own accord. I have authority to lay it down and authority to take it up again. This command I received from my Father." These are beautiful verses. It's interesting. Jesus tells us the reason his Father loves him is that Jesus lays down his life only to take it up again, and that he laid it down of his own free will, and he got that free will from his Father. This might be one of the most revealing passages about the character of our Father in all of Scripture. God sent his Son to die, but he gave his Son that freedom on whether to obey or not. And that same freedom is given to all of us. He tells all of us through his voice to lay down our lives, take up our cross and follow him, but he doesn't hammer us into following him. He's given us the choice to say yes, that we will or we won't. So why is this such a huge concept to grasp when it comes to hearing the Father's voice? Think about yourself as a parent, or about your own parent. If you tell your kids to obey you and to not play in the street, to do their homework, eat vegetables, talk nice to their siblings, it's life-giving if they obey you, right? Not playing in the street will keep them safe. Doing their homework will give them good grades. Eating well ensures good health, and talking nice makes for a pleasant household. But do you as a parent want your kids to do all of those things because you're standing at the door with a paddle to hit them if you don't? We all know that raising kids in that sort of environment makes them run at the first chance they get. What we as parents want, and what our parents wanted, was a relationship of trust. My husband told our kids that there were 3 reasons they would have to give in to his directives when they were growing up. He might tell them to do something and they won't like it because they're a toddler and they don't understand. Like, don't touch the stove. A toddler doesn't get that. Then he might tell them to do something, and eventually they will understand. If they disobey and get older and get hurt, they understand the Father's directives. But thirdly, there will be times when he will tell them, as their Father, things they may never understand, and they'll just have to trust him and obey him because of that trust. God sent his Son to die for us, but we read elsewhere in the Scripture that Jesus could have refused. He could have called for angels to rescue him, but because he had this relationship with his Father, to trust his ways as being the best, he laid down his life of his own accord. That freedom to love his Father enabled him to obey his Father. And that's why it's so important that we love our neighbor but don't coerce them into loving the Father. That's why it's so important that we love our children, but we don't force them to be like us, but rather we point them to the Father. And that's why we never demand or force respect from others like hired hands, or demonstrate love that attacks and scatters. We invite relationship. That's why we lay aside our own agendas in favor of listening to his voice to walk this way, turn there, help that one on the road, or even lay down our lives for those outside the pen. We will never fully understand God's ways until we observe him and trust in his ways. This takes lots of long walks, lots of pausing to reflect, lots of long drinks when we're thirsty, and many times of rest in his presence, learning and loving the Good Shepherd as he leads. So don't be hard on yourself when you've entertained other voices. You have a Father that created you and isn't flawed in one area, but he's perfect in all of his ways. He knows we're human, we're flesh, and not yet perfect, so he patiently loves and leads and asks us to follow. But that decision to follow is up to us. And eventually his voice will become louder above the noise and rise above the hate, the disappointment, the ridicule, and even times when we've been deceived by the wolf in our grandmother's bonnet, and we will run to and obey and give like he does. The Father. He's not a mafia godfather. He's not a father that knows best and then messes up big time under pressure. He's not Father Christmas with a bag of goodies only if we've been good. He's not a lame father that embarrasses us to shame. He's the Father that has compassion on those that fear him. He's the Father that lavishes love on his children. He's the Father that disciplines and delights in those he loves. He's the Father that provides all we need and then some. He's the Father who's the way, the truth, and the life. And he's the Father that graciously gives us all good things. Do you know his voice? Learn, read, study his character, and you'll never be moved or swayed by another voice that calls, because you'll recognize that it's a stranger and you'll turn away and follow your Father.